Hi there and welcome to Hyundai Power Products. My name is Adrian and today we're going to look at this HYFT60SP field trimmer. So I'm going to take it out of the box, lay the contents out so you can see exactly what you get. Okay, so I put some of the components on the table here. We have the main unit itself with the upper handle attached by cables, so I'm going to leave that there for the time being. We have the spanner here in the bag. A pair of wheels. This part is the lower handle. The unit does come with a bottle of oil. Here we have spare trimmer wire and some of the fastenings that are needed. The main guard unit. And finally, we have the user manual and the safety manual. Now I do recommend that you read these thoroughly before use. So we're going to start on the assembly and we are going to need some basic tools for the assembly. So I've actually got here an 8mm, a 13mm and a 14mm spanner. An adjustable spanner would do it just as well, but I've got these tools to help me. So I'm just going to take the upper handles up and out of the way temporarily. We're going to come to fit in the handles shortly. I'll just let them hang over the edge of my table. There we are. I'm not putting too much strain on my cables here. So the first thing I want to do is fit one of the wheels. So, as you'd imagine, there are two wheels. I'll have to undo this nut, remove the washer and spring washer. Now it doesn't matter which wheel goes on which side, but you do need the valves to be on the outside. So I'm going to lift the unit up and slide this wheel on. Now this here is a drive peg, and you'll see a drive block here. This block needs to go one side or other of this drive peg. So I've just tipped the unit over slightly. I'm going to offer it up, just lift it up just a little and slide it into position. So we need to bolt it on now. The bolt, spring washer, then the big flat washer. Put that in the hole. Screw it in finger tight. As you can see, the valve is on the outside. 13mm spanner. And I'll just, there we go, lock it down. Just make sure I can hold the tyre, that's tight. So with that wheel fitted, I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So one thing of note, on this side of the machine, the bolt is a left-handed thread. So counterclockwise to tighten it up. And again, to take that bolt out, you would need to have gone clockwise. So that's the difference in the two sides. So what you would think would be loosening it, in this case, that's tightening it up. So it's left-handed thread on this side of the machine. So we're going to fit the main guard on the front of the machine now, and you'll notice that these 4 screws here, 1, 2, there's another one down here, and one on the top. We need to remove those. So they've been put there in the right location, so you know which screws go in which hole. So I'll just remove those quickly. I'll come back to the other 3. On exactly the same note, the final 2 screws are in the guard itself. Just loosen them off with a spanner. A little bit more. There we are. And I'll unscrew those 2 screws. So one thing I didn't show is that I've tipped the whole machine back to give this part up in the air so I can access it easily. So with the 6 screws removed, I can place the front guard over the top of the trimming head, pull the trimming lines through, and we're ready to start fastening. So we need to get this guard in the correct orientation, and the orientation is like this. So I'll bring you around the other side and we'll put the 2 screws in the back of the guard in first, just loosely, and that will line up the top 4. As you can see, this rectangular boss here with a hole, and this hole in the frame. So that's the first screw. So I'll just get it started back in the hole just to get that one lined up. Couple of turns, finger tight. That's that one captive. I'll go to the other side now and put the other one in. So this has given us a rough alignment for the top, and I can just screw in by hand the 4 screws in the top here. Just get them started. So we want all the screws started and in the holes, and then finally, when we've got them all in, we can do up all 6 screws. So the next thing we're going to do is to fit the lower handle. Now you will notice that the handle has a bend in it here, or a kink, so it's not straight. If I'm holding it here, you'll see it's leaning out this way. That's the direction it wants to go on the machine, so that the handle comes out of the machine and goes high. If I put it on the other way, like this, the handle will be coming down at a much lower angle, which will be too low for the operator. So I'll turn it round, and this is the way we're going to fit it. So with that said, you'll see 2 bolts here, which I'm going to remove. I need a spanner for that, and I believe it's a 14mm. Sometimes they're tighter than others, but they've been put there so you've got the correct bolt in the correct hole. Okay, so the next thing to do is to lift the whole upper handle up and away, and I'm going to do that now, across the top, because we want these wires or control cables to be on the inside of the upper handle. So I'll just untangle those, just being gentle with the cables, and bring them over towards the front of the unit, out of the way temporarily. There we are. So with that done, I can now fit the lower handle. So I'll just look for the hole, get that bolt started. A little difficult for you to see. Get the bottom one in the hole. There somewhere, there we are. And much the same as we did with the guard, we'll get all 4 bolts started. So I'm on the other side doing exactly the same thing. Just get all 4 bolts started before we lock it down. So that's the 4 loosely in place. That's the lower handle in position. So now I can take my 14mm spanner and tighten up all 4 bolts. In fact, I think it's a 13. It is, it's a 13, I do apologise. I'll just tighten this side up, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So in the bag you'll find these 2 screws, washers and hand wheels. I'll just disassemble those temporarily. I'll need the bolts first of all. We didn't want that one. So there's the 2 bolts we're going to use to fit the upper handle to the lower handle. Okay, so I'm going to fit the upper handle to the lower handle. And it goes this way round, so that the top of this handle is more on a flat plane to the ground. If I was to put it the wrong way round, which it will go, it'll be far too high for the operator. So let's just turn it around again, taking care not to trap the cables. So I'm just going to offer it into place there and here. I should be able to hold it. I'm going to put one of those bolts from the inside to the outside in position. I'm going to put the washer on and then just wind that hand wheel back on. It should just stay there for a moment. Okay, so I'll come to the other side. Exactly the same procedure. Bolt through the hole, then the washer, then the hand wheel. So the final thing on the upper handles here is to fit to the throttle lever. So you'll see 2 holes. Typically I would put this in the top hole, take the nut off, you just saw me do that, and just refit the nut. So for this I'm going to need a 10mm spanner. So with it located in place, 10mm spanner. Don't have to over tighten this, just nip it into place. Finally on that part, you'll see in the bag a little rubber cover. We'll just push that into place just to protect that nut. So there are 2 plastic clips. I'll just put the cables into this one, fasten this one on to the handles, somewhere around that area, and as you can see I've fastened the other one as well. Okay, so as you can see we have this label on the oil filler, and we're going to put engine oil in the engine. This machine will be shipped to you without engine oil in it. It gives the grades here, SAE30 or 14W50 engine oil, but we need to put engine oil in the engine before we even think about pulling the engine over or starting the machine. So I'll just take that label away. So we do send a bottle of SAE 30 engine oil with the machine. I would need to remove the dipstick. I turn it anti-clockwise, probably quarter turn, and I can remove the dipstick. So on the dipstick here, you can see this cross-hatched area, the letter H at the top and L at the bottom. We need to fill the engine with engine oil so that when we put the dipstick in, the oil level is showing here at the top of the cross-hatching where the letter H is. So what we would do, I'm not going to open this bottle of oil, is very slowly pour engine oil down this tube, maybe a little bit at a time, and give it time to run down the tube. Perhaps when you get to half of this bottle, we need to wait a few seconds to let the oil run all the way down into the engine, so we're not dipping into the oil that's still in the tube. Then we place the dipstick down just like so. We don't screw it down. Lift the dipstick out and then check where our oil level is. If it's below that letter H or not showing at all, we need to add more. But do pour it in very slowly. If you go too quickly, it'll just come straight back out of the top at you. So nice and slow, keep pouring it in. Give it a few seconds to all run down into the engine. Dip it again, count to 3, lift the dipstick out and check where your oil level is. So next we need to put fuel in the engine. We've got engine oil, time for fuel. Fuel filler cap here. Now, when you're filling with fuel, make sure you're outdoors in a well ventilated area, away from any sources of ignition, and obviously never refuel it when the engine is hot. So that said, undo the filler cap anti-clockwise, and we need to fill it with fresh unleaded fuel. Fill it up to a point maybe an inch below the top of the filler neck. Don't overfill it. We need a little bit of room in the top. Once you've filled it with fresh fuel, I got that right, there we go. I can screw the lid back on, just make sure it's tight, clockwise for that, and that's it, fuel is in the system. So as you can see, I've just pulled the recoil out and held onto it at the engine end. I've threaded it inside this cable. I'm going to put the string against the frame, pull it down, I'm going to come through that gap, over the top, let go of the line, and there we are. That's the recoil handle up there in the operator position. So final little bit of adjustment. When the machine is delivered, the handles are inboard like this. They should be up on the top here. So they're not tight. I've just swung this one up onto the top, and I can tighten up on this Allen key just to lock the handles in position. So the Allen key is provided. Just lock it. It doesn't move. I'll go to the other side, do exactly the same, put it up into the vertical, tighten up the Allen key, the Allen bolt with the Allen key, and there we are. That's the two handles fastened. Can I just say while we're here, this handle here which activates the trimmer head has this little lock. You can't pull this handle unless you lift the lock first. So the method would be lift the lock, pull the handle down, and as you can see in operation, it's much more comfortable to have the handle on the top than it is to have it on the bottom, and you can access that. So lift, trimmer running, let go, trimmer stops. I will cut this plastic out of the way and it will release. There we are. So this left hand lever here activates the self-propelled, so the wheels will start driving and off you go. So this is the drive. Simply let go of it to stop it. This side is to run the trimmer head. Let go of both levers, the wheels stop, the trimmer head stops, and the machine will sit there. So the last control on the handlebars is the throttle here. So fully back like this is the stop position, and that will stop the engine. To start the engine, push this lever fully forward, and you can throttle it back to idle, and if you put it right back, it will kill the spark to the engine and the engine will stop. So startup procedure, throttle fully open. Now for the cold engine, 3 to 6 pushes of the primer bulb. Then we can come to the recoil, pull the recoil, good swift pull, the engine will start. Don't let go of the recoil once it's started, just let it go back to there. Once the engine's running, you can drop the revs back if you wish, or you can speed it up for use. To start the trimmer head, lift the lever, trimmer head will be running, and then finally we'll pull this lever and off to go. So once you finish work, we can let go of the two levers, and to stop the engine, pull the throttle fully back until the engine stops, and then that's it, the engine will be stopped. So the machine does come with an adjustable cutting head. So we have this bell on the end which will always run on the ground, but this portion can be moved up and down about 75 millimeters. So down in the hole here, we can use this Allen key that's provided. You'll find two grub screws. I'll just loosen the two grub screws off. Okay, so they're loose. Now I can slide the cutting head up or down. So as you can imagine, if the bell was this far away from the cutting head, it would leave the ground that much uncut. And if I was right down the bottom, let's just loosen it a bit more, we would be as close to the ground as we can cut. So I may have to just loosen those a touch more, and I can adjust it right up. That would be the minimum cut height, so leaving the most amount of grass or brush, and then right down there would cut it very short indeed. So once I've decided on a cutting height, I can just tighten those two grub screws down firmly. Okay, so what I ideally would do, if I do have a spanner, I'll just nip those. A pair of pliers or a spanner is ideal, just to make sure that we've got them tight. So just to show the correct threading method for this, as you can see, you would take the full length, feed it as a loop from the center down through both holes, back out through the middle hole with a crossover, and that's how it's fitted. So I think we're all assembled. I've shown you all the controls you need to know, other than just a reminder to always wear the correct PPE, a pair of goggles, some ear defenders, suitable gloves, whatever you're going to need, stout boots and what have you. You need to wear the appropriate PPE, because this thing will flick weeds and stuff all over the place. Keep animals away, keep other people away when you're using it, and keep a good lookout for those hedgehogs. We don't want to be cutting hedgehogs up, do we? So with that said, I do hope you found this demonstration useful. And for more information on this or any of our other products, visit www.hyundaipowerproducts.co.uk. I've been Adrian, and thank you for watching.